Welcome back, everyone. You're getting a look at Team Impulse after that Game 1 loss, regrouping and preparing to even up the series with Game 2. So a lot of pressure on them, though, having gone down 1-0 to start the series. Now, of course, if you can't make it to Madison Square Garden to catch the North American LCS Finals, don't worry. Our friends at Coke have got you covered. On August 23rd, they will be hosting viewing parties in theaters in over 25 select cities across the United States. Come out and see the playoff finals on the big screen and cheer on your favorite team with a slew of your fellow league fans. Find more information, head to lolesports.com and click on the viewing parties link for all the details. But right now, it's time for Game 2 between Team Impulse and Counterlogic Gaming. Gentlemen, with such a back-and-forth game where both teams had an upper hand at different points, do we expect to see much change coming into Game 2?
I honestly don't. I thought these guys both got stylistically pretty much their favorite composition to run in the current meta for them. So I think they won't change up too much. Maybe an Olaf ban, and I think you were talking about maybe an Alistar ban as well.
Yeah, I think COG definitely are just going to play their comp again, but I feel TIP might switch it up. I know Adrian really dislikes playing Alistar, even though I think we both think he's at least one of the top tier supports. But since with the laws, and I feel like TBR have really kind of they do have impact as a veteran, but for the most part, they're kind of a newer, underexperienced player. Yeah. So Adrian might lose kind of confidence in Alistar, and I know he loves to play Janna and other stuff, so we're probably going to see that.
All right, maybe a switch up there. You know, from a play style perspective, do we expect to see anything change?
No. I feel like carry top, and then you just run the same strategy. You just pick and choose different champions if something's banned.
Yeah, I think they're just going to probably switch up the support. That's how I feel.
All right, looking at, let's say, the jungle matchup, Rush versus Xmithie, we did see Rush secure a pretty substantial level lead there at the beginning of the game, as well as a CS lead. But it also meant that he was sacrificing lane aggression, which is what we generally know him for.
Yeah, it was really smart. He identified that COG were playing very scared. I don't know if he just looked around the map and did it himself. If he did, that's ridiculous. But yeah, he might have gotten lane info, like, oh, they're playing pretty scared, don't gank this. And he was, you saw, like, 2 levels above Xmithie at one point, and that seems like really big.
All right, with that, the teams are just about ready on stage, so we're going to send it over to our casters. As we go, Team Impulse have had success on a few go-to champs, but say they've still got a couple surprises they can pull out.
그러니까 저희 팀에 되게 각 라인별로 잘하는 픽들이 있어요. 이거는 뭐 숨길 것도 없이 막 니달리가 승률이 100%라던가 알리스타가 승률이 100%라던가 그런 챔피언들이 있는데 그런 챔피언들 저희가 골라도 좋고 그쪽에서 밴해주더라도 저희는 다른 걸 준비하기 때문에 그냥 그 잘하는 챔피언이 무기가 될 것 같아요.
Well, I'm definitely curious to see what they choose to go for here. Analyst desk said not much would change. Alistar like 100% win rate support, though maybe that one does, as Kiwi Kid said. But yeah, I'm actually very curious to see how deep the strategy pools really go.
So yeah, the thing with Impact, even though he's used Shen in all of the playoff games so far, he's tied for the most diverse champion pool among top laners, and he plays the best carry top laner. As Dyrus quoted as saying he's the best carry top laner in the North American LCS. I think that's a very viable strategy. They could easily put Apollo back on something like Sivir and shift it around.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because Impact is pretty much, if Dyrus says he's the best at carry top laners, it would make him the best top laner right there. Zion Spartan plays some of the split push top laners and the different top laners.
Right, that's Dyrus's opinion.
Yeah.
And obviously Zion is no slouch himself. Definitely debatable between the two. But red pick, CLG will have counter pick if they do choose to use it there.
Oh, and interesting, actually. Impulse banning away their own Alistar. It looks like CLG picked the exact same 3 bans. And that means it's a Braum pinch.
Yeah, that's actually something that Kiwi Kid was talking about. And Braum has risen in popularity very heavily since those small buffs to his laning phase. His roam is amazing. And we saw the effect that the slow from his Q can have, not only in level 1s, but also later into the game, pulling picks for the team.
Yeah, it was really critical in a lot of the late chases from COG in their team fights in order to pick up those kills.
Yeah, he's also extremely good at protecting against multiple threats in a team fight for an AD carry. So if Apollo is having trouble, Braum laying down a huge slow field is a great zone control against melee threats, and then obviously unbreakable.
And we'll see what they build around this one. Counterlogic Gaming, meanwhile, happy to play the exact same team comps. They say, all right, you're not allowed, at least in Italy. Don't care about the rest. Smithy's learned the Echo. We want to play it every single time. We are on 5.14 and will be through the rest of the playoffs here. So this is, you know, the whole giant shield Echo and all that stuff in case you guys are wondering over at home. Still the same patch as last time around. And Smithy happy to play this champion.
Yeah. Incredibly high priority on the Echo for CLG, but I also think that's because they're putting more of an emphasis on counterpicking.
Yep.
I mean, with all the huge power picks that are potentially in the meta right now, the fact that they've picked it in their first chance of picks in both of these games either displays that they want to pick more diverse things for the solo laners, or that Xmithy just doesn't have other champions.
Well, it just brings so much team fight power. You can see they even didn't pick the Gragas this time around, which is what a lot of people were thinking Smithy was going to go to, just because he's had so much success on it. And it was even banned in the first game, but this time around goes through and opts for Echo instead.
And weirdly, Impulse actually, despite the talk about carry top laners, they're playing the exact opposite style. Impact, one of the best top laners in North America.
Yeah.
Top lane carries becoming more and more common. They're like, no, 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 you have your style. We have ours. Shen game 1, Maokai game 2.
And it's interesting that for the first time in 5 games, they themselves decide not to go with Shen, what has been such a hallmark of their playoffs thus far.
Yeah.
And this is an incredibly CC-focused early composition. It's quite low damage. They're going to need to get a lot of damage in and put Gate probably on a slightly more carry role unless they're going for a mid-game snowball.
Yeah, and Azir's banned, which was what Gate was able to have the biggest effect so far on. So,
you know what's weird? Is this comp looks like a Yasuo comp. As much as Xiao Xiao's not on this team anymore, these are all really good Yasuo synergy champions.
It's also really similar to an LMQ comp that they ran in the playoffs last year. This is probably a little bit off topic, but when they played in the third place game to come back on Curse and reverse sweep them, they had Braum, Maokai, Ori in like 3 games in a row, and Kha'Zix as their jungler because it was just a death tank ball that rolled around. They could do something very similar here if they want to put Gate on Orianna, something he's played in the past.
Well, this is going to be interesting. We'll see if that ends up being that champion. Meanwhile, a couple more picks come down the line. Gnar comes through for Zion Spartan after seeing the Maokai. He wants that matchup even with the Olaf up. And also, after going down to Thresh, and it's just Protect the Vayne.
Yeah, somewhat of a death ball, but honestly, this is lowish on damage. We'll see if CLG would need to find a way to get onto Vayne, otherwise that is a threat.
Well, all right, it's Orianna themselves.
CLG, they have so much AoE. It's not even... Like, as long as they get in the vicinity of Vayne, and then they're able to do Echo, Gnar, and Orianna, Vayne is great at navigating team fights and working around zones of control, but that is a huge amount of area of effect for her to try and deal with.
I would say on the spectrum of champions, though, none of them have point-and-click disables, which is a really big deal for being Vayne.
That's sort of the hard counterplay there.
Maokai's and Kha'Zix's and stuff are just like actually really difficult to deal with for her. So on the spectrum, I think is actually decent for Vayne. But you're right, it's all on Apollo, and he did not have a very good game 1.
Yeah, they're definitely going to have to watch the choke points. Fighting in the jungle would be disastrous for them.
Definitely true.
Yeah. Zion this time around is the one to get the counter pick into the top lane, though. Gnar into Maokai, definitely favorable for him. Let's see if Zion will be able to take advantage of it. Rush on Lee Sin is going to have much more of an early presence. So, as usual, Impulse game, going to have a lot of eyes on Rush for the earlies.
Yeah, and this one is really going to be on Rush in the early game, more so than on the Evelyn game where he did a lot of farming early on. He's going to be looking to make immediate impact in this one.
We'll see if he can make that happen over from Rush's side on the Lee Sin. You guys at home, keep your votes updated. Tweet hashtag TIP winner, hashtag CLG winner at LOL Esports. Let us know who you think's going to win this series. Counter Logic Gaming, they already took down game 1. They've got 2 more to go. Meanwhile, Impulse, once again, putting all their eggs in the Apollo basket. His Vayne is going to be well protected. Can he carry him out? Here we go with game 2.
And Freak, I just think it's so interesting that Impulse is falling back on Apollo as a carry threat so readily. Yeah. When really that was not the style they played at all with Xiao Xiao. Obviously, they had the 2 weeks to practice before quarterfinals, but they're really respecting and trusting Apollo to carry here. Vayne's not something he's played in the LCS, especially in the summer split. So this is bold.
Also, Impulse are going to have to get team fight victories. Not only is there a lot of weight on Apollo's shoulders to carry, but they do not have good siege. So, you know, they have wave clear if they have to hold off on turrets and they want to try and split push with a Vayne or something like that. But it's going to have to be neutral objective control for Impulse. Let's see if they can get, ward coverage around the Dragon early, try and start stacking those up. Whereas CLG are going to try and knock down turrets early here with double lift.
Most likely the case. And I was actually talking with Kiwi Kid before the show started, and he said, one, that he really wants to see Afremu play a lot of Thresh. He's been seeing him play in solo queue. He really respects it. He thinks he's very good at the champion. So he's happy to see him back on this one. But also, he was saying specifically, Thresh is a pretty good matchup in a Braum just because you have the ability to kind of mess with him and poke at him a bit. So as far as the matchup itself goes, I think CLG definitely favored in the 2-on-2. You guys said in the pregame, CLG's lane swap is also incredible. So early game might be very hard for Impulse.
Yeah, something we didn't get to touch on last game was the fact that Team Impulse managed to match CLG's lane swapping and not opt into that game. It was one of the main reasons that Team Impulse was able to pull ahead in the early game. That first match also had back-to-back jungle invades by CLG and had a very kind of impromptu, improvised early game, whereas this one seems a lot more standard and also not disrupted in any way. Maokai got to prep his camp with saplings. Rush got a very free start, pulling to give him the level 2.
Yeah,
and CLG is doing the double jungle.
The duo actually helping Rush out and giving him that leash. Whereas up top, double lift and Afremu won't be able to freeze just because they started the Krugs and probably start shoving that down early on Tristana. This should definitely be an early roam from Afremu.
Yeah, he's already recalling.
Looks like he's going for some wards.
And he was given full level 2, by the way. He took the entire set of the Krugs.
Rush have planned here? He did 2 small camps. And now they're going for an invade.
I think they're going to be late, though. I think they wanted to cut off CLG.
Well, this is their strong side, so they do have the Adrian support coming in. And we talked about Braum's level 1 threat with just the Q.
So much time wasted there. Adrian and Impact went to the mid lane, but Clovoter was so far back already. Doublelift already pushing into this lane, making a lot of waves. And the thing is, Zion and Afro are already ready to defend the bottom turret, and they could get all this XP.
Yeah. Not able to get the gank off mid, not able to get the counter jungling. That camp, Smithy was able to get the wolves and get out in time. So CLG, once again, able to come out with early lead in the lane swap. Zion also on Gnar. Does have the range for him to work with here for easy CSing. Very actually dangerous for Apollo. Afremu and Zion not going aggressive though because they don't have any deep wards. Not quite sure where Adrian is.
Defensive pink there. That'll make sure they can get down the river at some point. He fights the scuttle. Looks like life's good for him.
Xmithy actually did a good amount of farming in the early game, much different than game 1. He's got a 200 quick gold lead on Rush. So he has a little bit more freedom now to go around and gank if he chooses or extend his lead. One thing I do know is that CLG heavily respects Rush's Lee Sin. Whenever they've scrimmed against Team Impulse, they always talk about how Rush can just GG them in like so many games because he's played Lee Sin against them. Maybe that's given them a certain level of comfort against it. In an interview, Rush said CLG doesn't know how strong his Lee Sin in Italy is, which pretty much gets said in every single interview Rush has. He just says, if they let me play Lee Sin, I'm going to win. But he has been allowed to play Lee Sin. And the early game, they missed on their one gank, and Xmithy's farming up pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, it's another incentive to lane swap when you are facing an early game champion like Lee Sin, and especially a player like Rush. Confining him to the jungle, that lane's a lot more difficult to get an even scenario. Rush really likes to get the either 2-on-2 duo fight or even singling out the enemy jungler.
Oh, this is
See if he
big
gets the
trouble
2 versus
for
1 though. That's even better. Impact able to land the snare easily.
All right, Doublelift, how good are you getting away from this one? Rush staying off of the side. There's the rocket jump away.
Got the red
Doublelift does have flash.
He's got a flash.
Can he dodge the Q? No! That's the first blood. Well done. Could not predict. And that is first blood for Rush.
Yeah, Doublelift was getting a little cheeky with his harassment under turret. Should not have really been in Twisted Advance range to begin with. But then the extension of that fight was just an outplay by Rush and an attempted clever flash by Doublelift that just wasn't quite executed properly.
Yeah, no vision there for Doublelift, and CLG able to delay the effect of Rush's early game Lee Sin with the lane swap, but eventually finds his first blood there. That's able to bring back the gold to almost even though.
Yeah.
So still pretty worth for CLG.
Mid lane's winning really heavily right now. It's a 10 minion lead right now, about 200 gold worth. And it kind of goes that way down the line.
Yeah. Rush straight into the early brutalizer though, as usual for him. Always picking up his combat stats first, so he's going to look to fight once again. The only question is where.
Yeah, so much for the lane swap. Double Lift without summoner spells needs the protection of a Thresh. So there.
He at least has items for now.
Yeah, he has the slight pickaxe advantage there, but Apollo got a lot of the...
Yeah, got a lot of farm.
So he's fine.
At least Vayne Brahm's not exactly that threatening, so Double Lift is okay here unless there's a crazy, crazy good dive that happens. Double Lift should be able to let his cooldowns come back up without too much threat in this line.
Yeah. And, you know, judging where... Smithy going to go in for an invade as Rush sees him just in time, doesn't start the Braum. Pretty sure he should have seen the ward animation go there.
He doesn't know. He
doesn't know what color
it's a pink, though. Yeah.
I don't think he checked the inventory in time.
Right away.
So interesting there. Yeah, Rush right now waiting around a tri-brush. Of course, he got spotted, so there's no reason for Zion to play aggressively.
Well, so the thing is, he's looking for a counter gank here. He just saw Smithy, so he's waiting around. Smithy, though, showing himself here. Rush knows there's no counter gank, goes over to do the Gromp instead.
Good flash by Gate, good pull into Adrian, actually. They nowhere to be seen. She'd already recalled. Adrian loses a lot of health. No dive quite available. But now that lane's going to get really difficult. It gives even more time for Double to stay safe here. Pickaxe versus Bilgewater Cutlass. Still not exactly a threatening lane to be against.
No, definitely not. Laning phase is definitely slowed down a little bit here. Rush, though, finishes his Warrior enchantment. He's going to be looking to make a play. One of the big differences in this game is actually Pobelter is laning over Gate, which is quite impressive considering the attempted 4-man roam by Team Impulse. One of the big strengths of Orianna is the strong laning phase, but obviously Pobelter doing a nice job harassing this one.
Yeah, and this lane is all about farm. You know, Lulu versus Orianna.
Unlikely
exactly dangerous. Exactly. So Impulse actually taking advantage of the recall timers here for Double Lift. You know, Apollo coming back straight with his purchase. They're able to shove him out of lane and take the dragon because of it. So First Blood and Dragon over Team Impulse.
And the matches are going better as well. When we last checked the First Blood money, it was about 100 gold down for TIP. Now it's about 100 gold up. So things are evening out, which is kind of nice for them. We'll see if they can put any more pressure in, of course. There's still only one major damage threat come late game, so Impulse, I feel like, might need to get themselves much farther ahead than they are right now. See if that ends up being true. Rush throws away a ward in his jungle.
It's so interesting that that pink ward remained unkilled for Rush. He never checked to see if it was pink. That's a high-value ward they're going to be getting in now. Almost lets them know that Rush will be kind of cheating the bottom side just because he's not in that blue side of his jungle.
It's definitely been the focus for CLG, both in the opening of the first game and in this game, trying to keep track of Rush, keep him down, jungle invading, some decent deep wards. The one in the bottom lane is actually pretty neat as well, because you very rarely expect the ward with sight on Krugs. And Lee Sin does have lane gank.
Ooh, flash ult to use to buy some time to knock around Impact, but I don't think it's going to be enough damage. No. Echo cannot reach, so flash used for just some damage. Impact low, but he's got teleport up.
Yeah, so even though the jungler, looks like he's circling around.
Yeah, I mean, they have the pink ward, so they could theoretically see a Lee Sin approach. It seems like since Smithy got stopped on the pink ward that...
There he finds it.
Imagine.
Should have found it.
He was looking at somebody else.
He's looking at Smithy.
Yeah, he's blind. No time for pink wards. He's going for a kill.
He walks right by him.
He's spotted. Well, this is still a flashless Gnar. Like, you make a good enough play. There's a flash kick and a Q. He's got it.
Oh my God!
Perfect play by Rush. He knew he could take it.
When you set your mind on something, Rush is going to do it.
Don't let your
walks through a pink ward.
Don't let your dreams be dreams, chat.
Walks through.
Just do it. Walk past pink wards. Walk past enemy junglers. Walk straight up and kill him. All right.
And meanwhile, though, a fight in the bottom lane, and TP comes in for the recently healed off Impact. Good luck for CLG. Flash knockup comes through. They find Afromu. The help's coming through, but be careful because here comes Zion Spartan, and here comes Doublelift. The first kill comes through, and now Adrian regrets everything he's ever done in this game. Another kill comes through. CLG turns it right back around.
Yeah, that's matched teleports right there, but CLG had the superior 2-on-2. Honestly, the teleport of theirs came back later. The overall initiation of Team Impulse was a little bit slow in that, and absolutely they turn it right back around. The death doesn't really hurt Zion Spartan since his lane didn't get pushed. Really all it did was give more gold to Rush.
He's not exactly known for his late game, so Sightstone's in, Warrior Enchant's there. You can put some impact on the map still, but Rush might have a lot more work to do. CLG pretty firmly in the lead.
Smithy back with the protection of his pink ward. Let's see if this lane swap is able to find him. Maybe Adrian will take the time out of his busy day to clear that pink ward. Nope, goes right by it. And Apollo primed for a dive here. Echo does have ultimate for the dive as well.
It's going to make things hard.
You really have to be worried about a counter gank, though.
I mean, he's got so much deep wards, and he's got the Wolf Spirit as well. Smithy was able to smite the Wolf Spirit during the counter jungling, so he would know if anyone was even in the quadrant of the map. They still do not decide to go for it.
What? Oh, do it.
Well,
all right.
Things that should go through your head when you land on these Sin Q, and you're thinking about going to the enemy jungle. Do I have vision of the enemy team? The answer was no.
No.
All 5 people could have theoretically been there, and it would have actually been an easy collapse for CLG if Rush had taken the Q.
All right. Of course. Let's see what else these guys can do. Gate still getting pushed around by Poether a little bit. His blue buff has been gone. Adrian wants in, just get the last hit here. Does not quite find any meaningful damage, but now Rush on the backside has his ultimate. He wants into this one. There's the reveal in for Doublelift. The double knockup comes through. Wow. Rush is still amazing at League of Legends. Ward hops in, can't quite get the damage, and now he's got to be real careful because the counter engage can come through. Echo with the 2-man stun. Double still getting the damage through. Ulti by Brown to buy some more time. They will stun up Xmithy if they keep the hits coming. They get some damage, but not nearly enough.
Yeah, look, it was all because of the early roam there from Gate. Gate coming up first means that CLG had to back off down in the bottom lane. 2 tanks going head-to-head. Not exactly going to result in a kill, but always fun to watch the blows.
Rush was so far ahead of the team there on that dive. He did everything right, but the rest of Team Impulse just couldn't follow through in time to secure those kills. And it's just kind of a split off there by CLG. No, the time invested on the dive isn't necessarily punished. CLG ends up sticking around.
Yeah, I mean, Gate with the earlier roam does come at the cost of even more CS advantage for Pobelter, though.
Yeah.
So while Gate was able to move up, Pobelter, the lead in mid lane is growing to be enormous.
35 right now, and only 13 minutes in. The actual gold value is significant.
If he can land that shockwave,
it's going to hurt people.
It'll be a game changer for CLG.
It's interesting to note, by the way, that despite the lane swap advantage from CLG and the kill and assist that Zion got from his earlier teleport, Impact's actually winning the minion game in that top lane. He's actually winning in gold as well, so that's honestly quite impressive by Impact. He got counterpicked too. The Gnar came in after the Maokai.
It's definitely a favorable matchup. It's not a hard counter or anything.
No, of course not.
We actually have almost no hard counters in League of Legends.
Yeah.
That's no fun.
Yeah.
All right, well. Rush
Good
starting off the
coverage
dragon.
by Team Impulse here.
Yeah, well, CLG gonna come check him out.
Ding ding.
Zion sees what's up.
Ding ding, not ready to fight.
Yeah, a little bit too much damage. All right, this actually is a great prep for CLG.
Thanks for starting it up.
Both AD carries are missing from this, but if the fight were to extend, Apollo would be there, and CLG doesn't actually know where Apollo is. So they're going to probably try and trade this dragon for a turret.
Yeah, it was kind of a bluff there, even though they don't have main in the area. The threat of Apollo coming down, able to be enough. Tristana up top though. You leave her alone with the turret, it's going to go down pretty easily. It doesn't even have to use explosive.
He's trying to bounce as much as he can here.
I think just deny as many minions.
What he can, yeah.
It's not going to bounce, but you can kill off as many of those minions as you can.
All right, and that melee goes down. That'll be the last minion to suicide here. All is well now for Doublelift. That minion wave can be frozen. Likely will not, though, by Impact.
Big for Doublelift to get solo experience and the farm because, you know, he did have most damage dealt in the entire game last game on his Tristana, and the key member in that turnaround and victory in the last fight.
Honestly, Doublelift had a tremendous performance on Tristana just from a statistical perspective. All season, it's been the mid laners doing all the damage, and Pobelter was propositioned to do so with the Victor, but it was actually Doublelift who did 41.5% of the team's damage and did 975 damage per minute on Trist.
Jeez.
Which is, and that was without the help of any type of hyper carry aid like Ardent
no Zeke,
Sensor,
no
or
Sensor.
Zeke's Harbinger or Lulu. It was really all Doublelift. He had a tremendous game.
Yeah, and that's only damage to champions, the turret killing power that she brings as well. Pobelter going to get some turret killing done of his own. Pretty good chunk off of the mid lane here.
Yeah, the slow burn of mid lane getting worse and worse. 43 minions. Just gets scarier for Gate. Even though the Lulu will be useful kind of no matter what, it just kind of sucks to not have a mid lane threat here, especially when the rest of your team are playing supports. Apollo still no kills to his name. Just a death, sadly, for him. Wasn't able to quite knock down the bottom outer turret either, though that one is a bit low. That's about half.
And from a team composition perspective, Team Impulse kind of needs to capitalize on this mid-game power spike. They've been able to get the 2 initial dragons, but Blade of the Ruined King completed on Apollo. They want to get the Lulu, Maokai, and Lee Sin in on the fights while they're still powerful, because COG has all the potential AoE in those late-game team fights. Things could get messy if COG maintains this type of gold lead and is able to sneak a dragon somewhere along the ways to prevent the 5 dragons of 0 snowball.
Yeah, that's why I was really highlighting the importance of the neutral objectives for Impulse. Because it's not like they can default to setting up a siege on one of these outer turrets. Until the outer turrets go down as well, they don't have a lot of territory to work with. So that dragon stacking, very important for them.
2 is good so far. They got a ways to go until they get any more on this one. Counterlogic Gaming sitting on a 2,000 gold lead via largely a great landing phase of Pobelter. And a turret lead thanks to Doublelift. Mid lane gonna dodge the damage.
He's a full needlessly large rod ahead of Gate.
That is definitely rough. Gate getting pressured on this mid lane outer, likely to die. There comes the attempt for the stun. Smithy does not quite find Gate. A bit of a counterattack here by Gate, and here comes Rush, but oh, he misses the Q.
Yeah.
How could he do that?
It only cost Pobelter his flash, and he made a miss. There you go. X-Smithy also used his E.
Fair point.
I mean, Miss Smithy.
Smithy's actually kind of. Landed that
Hit
one.
that one. Hey! And he ward hops to dodge a frickin' boomerang.
That
He's
is
so good at this game.
That is the value of wards for Rush. I mean, sights don't charge to stop 80 damage.
And it slows him.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
Correction, it's like 100. It's a lot of damage, more than 80.
He's got armor.
Anyway, though,
close to right.
CLG do only have 1 outer turret left standing, so would expect some more focus down there after taking down the mid lane. They now try and get their vision in. With mid lane turret down, it opens up so many possibilities for the jungle plays.
Good amount of damage there on Zion Spartan, and Rush is approaching.
Yeah, he's definitely, he had to have been seen by that ward in Impulse's own tribal
I don't know if
set.
Zion could safely hold this tower. He knows it.
All right, Impact slowly getting his way back into this one, even with Smithy around. Not going for the fight
Not
just
even
yet.
gonna get that
Turret's
free
very
gold.
low.
Ward expires.
I think he was going to time out fast enough that he didn't know if he could get it. Rush
I
waiting in the
wonder
wings.
if COG's going to try and defend this. It's a 2v2 with their turret.
Definitely.
It'll be dicey.
Definitely don't want a mini Gnar for this 2 versus 2.
And Impact doing the same thing. He's going to try to deny some farm.
Rush could 100% a mini Gnar at this point.
You can see the threat. Oh, that was a big hook. But the turret still stands, so no chance to go in.
Man.
I know.
Only like 2 more autos on that turret as well.
You know, if instead of Avarice Blade, he went for like a dagger,
Again,
the turret would have died.
Afromove's genius going to waste.
He'd also
down
have
there.
450 less gold.
Hey.
He's gained from the average plate.
It's okay, but he would have gotten 2 kills and paid it off. I'm wrong. I'm just kind of trolling here. But the bottom lane turret goes down. Counter Logic Gaming have knocked down the outer ring.
Just in time for Dragon as well. 45 seconds. They can go try and set up the vision around that Dragon. And CLG, this would be the one where they want to interrupt Impulse's control.
Yep. They've just hit a lot of really important power spikes. Death Cap completed by Pole Belter, Static Shiv for Doublelift. They are ahead of the curve as far as those items are concerned. Their only struggle would probably be killing Impact's Maokai if he can get a good initiation off. But Maokai is top lane right now without teleport. He's got to walk down manually, which kind of diminishes the flank potential. I think this is absolutely a Dragon COG should be posturing for and trying to take.
They've got to buy 30 seconds. That's the disconnect between Dragon spawning and teleport being up. I don't think Impulse have the ability to easily do that. There's looks like really no waves in the mid lane, so not even a trade of objectives possible on that side of the map.
Rush at least could go for the steal here. He does have everything in his kit available.
They're getting the Dragon pretty low. This is absolutely a steal.
Sin can go, he gets it! But now, how can he get anything else? Smith in the front line, pop steal, the heals back up. Adrian has got to run with a shock on him, and he's going to go down. It's a 1-for-1 though. Vayne's still getting some hits in, but there comes Gnar. Looks for a lot. Rush can only do so much, but oh my god! A double kill, and Apollo's still going. He's almost got the stacks on him though. He picks up his third. It's going to be close. A triple kill before he goes down the doublelift. Impact tries. He gets the fourth of the fight. And it's time for the wet noodle fight in the top lane.
Let's see who's really the best top lane
trying to make the big plays. Here he goes. The Hyper still dealing damage. Is a coward and runs away. Impact's the king of the hill.
Well, the double buffs helped Impact out a little bit. And the Frozen Heart. But honestly, that fight was a absolute bloodbath. And the most critical thing about that, beside the trade of 4 kills each, is the Dragon. 3 Dragons to 0, not having the 6% attack damage and ability power for COG in what was a very close team fight will be even more important later on in the game.
Let's take a look at this again, because we keep talking about the few seconds where there's a numbers advantage. Impulse, once again, 5 versus 4. That was actually even 2 full seconds there before Zion shows up. He comes in at the end, though, is able to get the kill, and is able to jump into the pit.
And a couple more things about this fight. Apollo was pretty much untouched for most of it, and Rush is a wizard on Lee Sin right there. Zion Spartan thought he was going to be closing him down, but he managed to juke all the way around and still contribute damage at the end of the day. Yeah, triple kill for 180 carry, double kill for the other, but considering it's a protect the Vayne composition, Apollo getting the 3 kills there is tremendously important for Team Impulse.
I mean, yeah, Dragon stacking, huge to get that number 3. The movement speed, not too shabby as well for Impulse.
Yeah, both these AD carries now on 2 completed items is a big deal. Apollo did not have anything but a Zeal. Yeah. So to do more work in Doublelift was really important there.
CLG still with the gold lead, though.
Very true.
And Doublelift is now got his crit multiplier for Tristana. Pole Belter not able to carry that last team fight.
3-man Shockwave as well.
It was great. I mean, again, you want to a few seconds of a numbers advantage is just so much.
Yeah.
In terms of these mid-game team fights where it's really swingy. And Impact, not only was he there earlier, but he had the 2 completed giant items. Frozen Heart is just such an efficient item buy with the giant AoE attack speed slow at this stage in the game. Reduces so much of CLG's damage.
And the weird thing is actually CLG itemizing a little bit magic resist heavy. You're seeing Merc Tread's already done here for Smithy. You've got, I think probably the makings of an Aegis are likely next for one of these guys' inventories. Whereas the Frozen Heart Rusher Impact really just denies a lot of what Doublelift wants to do. So we can kind of see the defensive itemization also allowing certain players to do better than they would otherwise. Definitely relevant here. Still no death cap yet for Gate. That was done for the last fight already for Pole Belter. The value of minion farm, of course, showing itself here. Impact taking a lot of damage.
Yep. Zion making use of that Black Cleaver. Oh, Echo.
He really wants in. A little bit of damage comes through, but Impact has nowhere else to go. He gets the Summoner heal. He will survive the explosive charge. Not a big problem. Zion low, but close to Mega Gnar.
Yeah, they still used a lot to keep him alive. That's a Braum ult, an Exhaust, and a Lulu ultimate. Whereas it pretty much just cost Doublelift a shot backwards.
And so, Zion, most of his health bar.
Yeah, that was fun.
Getting it back up now off the recall. Scuttle goes over to Counter Logic Gaming. And they remain 2.8 thousand gold up. Make that 2,000 as the mid lane turret goes down. Impulse finally trading some of these. Yeah. It's still a gold disparity.
Each of those outer turrets is huge for Impulse, though. Not only to get that global gold back in order for themselves, but also open up the terrain in which they can actually have those team fights. Remember, they really want to avoid the small corridors versus CLG comp. So more outer turrets being down gives them more options. And they can just wait till the next dragon pops up. Go for number 4.
See what they can get for themselves. 1 minute and 30 seconds. Posturing for position and vision. Gonna be what we're gonna be watching for here. TIP's vision, none of it really passes the river. CLG actually have a couple of half-decent wards. There's one on the backside of mid that helps them a slight bit. But so far, neither team with the most amazing deep vision. We'll see if they can get that in the next 60 seconds.
No Evelyn in this game, no Shen. The deep vision has been a slight bit deprioritized when compared to the last game. Also because the outer turrets have been taken somewhat systematically. It hasn't been very much about forcing team fights or getting turret dives. This game is really coming down to this ever-imposing 5th dragon and Team Impulse trying to take advantage of the
Zion
at this
cornered,
point in the game.
And he's exhausted, can't go mega. Uh-oh.
Well, unless he makes the big play with his teleport there. The kick is already down, but Vane's got condemned. Nowhere for Zion Spartan to go. What a good timing for a kill. He's dead for the duration of Dragon respawning.
Yeah, talk about the lack of deep warding, and then you split push and get too far ahead of yourself. Rush has so much mobility, they're able to catch him.
Ooh, CLG did not go for the Baron rush themselves. It would have been the other team, the rest of the team really being very far away from it.
There is Impulse pink ward on it as well.
Yeah.
This,
they look for mid, get nothing.
This is a very big moment in the game, though. The death timer on Zion Spartan, while it's close to Dragon, is desynced by 3 seconds. So if Team Impulse starts the Dragon and CLG wants to start a fight, Zion could teleport in, but again, it would create that very small timing window of a numbers advantage, which is so important in these team fights you mentioned, but they're getting closer and closer to the late game now.
Plus coming out of the fountain, you have no rage.
They dodge the hook. The True Bolt's coming in
Too
towards
early for
double lift.
CLG.
A lot of damage coming in. There's Impact. Now who's going to go down? Rush staying alive. The Q comes back in. He goes for Afro move. There's 2 kills so far. The shotgun turns a bit around, but it's 3 kills picked up. CLG with a bad fight.
Zion revives, but not enough time there. The teleport channels and 2 members of CLG already dead. Easy sweep there for Impulse. That's going to be Dragon number 4, unless there's some crazy, ridiculous boomerang steal.
It's 4. That was a very poor call by CLG in the moment. The Dragon was the objective, and they were already cutting it close with whether or not Zion Spartan could make it into a Team Impulse forced fight. CLG forced a fight way earlier than they had to, even to begin with. The teleports were obviously matched before Zion Spartan was even alive.
They thought she was alone.
And they didn't have the perfect number. Like, even if she is alone, it's a Vayne with stealth up. Like, they didn't have a pink ward to stop those things. The rest of Team Impulse arrives, Impact zones out. Zion came in behind, but he realized it's a lost cause and never gets in on the fight.
The timing was bad, the prep was bad, even the area that they chose to fight in was bad. Again, so much open area for Vayne to move around. Big win there for Team Impulse. And after that, they're able to regroup almost all the gold difference. So they're set up very well.
This puts a lot of threat in the game now. Dragon 5 is only 4.5 minutes away, but it's right as Gate and Impact start being smaller damage threats. As defenses come in, those guys become less and less of an issue, and it becomes more and more about Apollo for the fight coming in 4 minutes.
Yeah, and he's still going for not a hyper late game Vayne build, but a very move speed heavy kind of take over the game type build. Ghost Blade completed from his Brutalizer. He's going to be very, very fast, which is critical since, as we mentioned, CLG doesn't have a single point and click to slow down the Vayne. If he is playing these fights optimally, he could wreak havoc.
The first 6 seconds of that battle is going to be so much damage with Lightning and the Yoma's move speed and the attack speed. CLG waiting on the sides. Impulse have to be a bit careful. They have all ultimates on both sides.
Yeah, they're trying to draw them into the center of the lane. CLG did do a pretty decent job of getting vision control of the Baron area.
Yeah, and it's still a tremendously close game. It's actually in CLG's benefit to try and get picks as long as they don't overexpose themselves somewhere. The gold is close, and the 5th Dragon hasn't given amazing power. It's Impulse because Double shows himself.
Bit of CC on Double. Shotgun catches the few. Gate's still safe in the back line, and no stun comes out. Now Meganar comes in. He finds Adrian, but Apollo is still safe. A lot of damage done to both front lines here, and Adrian cannot find enough damage to get enough room to get damage in, rather Apollo. And we still trade back and forth with no kills coming through. I'm still watching for Vayne, as well as Double Lift Tristana.
By himself. Can they land a
White
slow?
finding targets. Gate misses the Glitter Lance.
Nobody going down right there. Good disengages by both tanks.
Yeah,
Adrian and Zion both escape.
you'd want to look at who exposed more summoner spells and ultimates in that fight. I mean, every ultimate used from CLG.
Impulses are lower cooldown.
Pretty much every ultimate for Team Impulse, but a slightly lower cooldown. Gate saved his summoner spells entirely. There's still a flash on Apollo, so he was hardly threatened whatsoever.
3 flashes saved by Impulse.
That's the biggest thing is the flash on Apollo, whereas Double Lift will have neither summoner spell for the next fight. But remember, before that skirmish broke out, CLG put in the work to gain this vision advantage around Baron. Adrian's going to go take it out, though. It does cost Gate a huge chunk of his life.
That's something that CLG can threaten. Lulu's a big part of the team composition. Unless she can stay safe, she might have to go back and heal. Half HP Lulu's not the most threatening champions.
Yeah, you want to be at full HP so that you can use all of your defensive spells on your carries rather than wasting them on yourself.
But it gives CLG enough room to once again control Baron Nashor. There is no vision outside of blue trinket usage for Team Impulse.
We're also potentially going to see an Aegis-free game in this one. Looks like Afram was actually going for the Harbinger because he wants Double Lift to be able to take out people in shorter windows of time, and they're not really respecting the magic damage that Gate and Impact are going to bring to the fight. I actually kind of like that decision.
I would like the extra crit for Double Lift because then he can just rush into his Last Whisper right now and peek really hard.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what his next item goes for. If it's another Cloth Armor or if it's an Amplifying Tome, we'll know which way he's going. His Frozen Heart would hurt Apollo. Zeke's would help Double Lift.
And honestly, as long as you're on the topic of whether or not you should go Zeke's or Harbinger on the support in this game, I think Adrian should do the same thing.
Oh, I'd rather Gate do it.
Gate could do it as well. Do the old Alex Each, build the Harbinger as your next item.
On mid lane Lulu, I definitely love Harbinger. Especially since he already has the main AP core items.
Right. Death Cap plus Zeke's is actually a crap ton of ability power.
For the purpose of this composition, though, it seems like Team Impulse should be going towards it. No look of that yet, not even the start of one.
Speaking of no look, almost all the wards expiring for CLG. They're going to have a hard time renewing those. Only one pink ward left on the map and a single green. There in the mid lane left.
Only 2 Sightstone charges left on Smithy and Afro.
So they're going to have to go back, and the lack of wards are going to cost them recalls.
And it's 50 seconds until Dragon is up at this point for 5th Dragon.
Both teams should actually be moving their vision over to that side of the map. 40 seconds, they have to do that. Plus, this is the optimal time to take the Scuttler. This is a very important Rift Scuttler. You'll have this Shrine speed boost for that fight. This is gigantic. They're actually going to leave it.
And, well, here's what's interesting, though, is Impulse can choose Dragon or Baron, and CLG can't give either away cleanly. If you give away Dragon for Baron, you're screwed. If you give away Baron for Dragon, you're also screwed.
Definitely.
CLG is going to have a hard time controlling both.
All right. Huge Rift Scuttler. The speed boost will be up almost the entire duration.
And they've got a minute of vision now after Dragon spawns. CLG are there first.
In this situation, I think the Dragon is far more important than Baron. The first Dragon and the 5th Dragon are both super important at 34 minutes. I think the Baron would just be a secondary objective. It's definitely about the Dragon, and you can see both teams are on the same page.
Gold dead even here heading into this fight.
Impact his home guard.
Yeah, he's actually going back to base for the home guard TP, which is the correct play.
They see it.
Doesn't get the flank behind them.
But he might get into the front line. Here comes the E in, and who's going to be taking the damage here? Shotgun catches only Adrian, and Apollo goes for damage. He's got a lot of hits onto Smithy. Impact so far is okay. Pobelter kills off Adrian. That's 1 kill picked up. There's a disengage, a double kills. Lee Sin falls, and finally the trade. But he goes down. The triple kill. Pobelter doing all the work in this one. And the slow comes in towards Impact. Will they go for any more, or will it be the Dragon? It's going to be at least the team fight, a 3-for-1 for CLG.
That fight was all about the front line for CLG. Apollo was trying to zip around. He had all the move speed on Vayne, but he could never get into the priority targets, and it allowed CLG to set up the front line with the Orianna shields and just get their damage off in a safe fashion. Front line taking all the threat, and Tip just couldn't get in there.
Plus, they know that Impact doesn't have teleport now, so they switch over to Baron. And they're going to have to walk all the way up. CLG able to stop the 5th Dragon as well as pick up Baron.
Oh man, Impulse just were not able to pinch Baron to keep CLG honest. CLG get the Dragon fight, they get the Baron afterwards off of winning it, and Counter Logic Gaming now back in the lead.
Yeah, that was This is such a series right now. Both games have been really close. This game has been even closer. That last fight.
Not able to utilize the home guards to their advantage. Plus then Afro move starts it off by getting the hook. So they just started Dragon. Rush was on the other side. Smithy as well is going to zone Apollo, and he actually gets a pretty good ult here. Rush goes in for the kick and kicks him over.
But Smithy just ults out.
Ults right back out. Double lift stays safe the entire time. Poe Belter on the fed Orianna stays safe the entire time. Rush not able to kick a high priority target over to Vayne for the execution. Smithy being able to ult right back out, and you know, it's all about double lift and Poe Belter being able to DPS the entire fight there.
Yeah, really, none of them taking damage. And it's the respect from all the AoE that COG has that prevented Apollo from getting in for the big time damage. Also the fact that he has no Last Whisper, no Infinity Edge. They had that mid-game power spiking build, but their 5th Dragon has been cut off. So now they are playing actually really far from behind. COG, I think, has a massive advantage right now, assuming they play the fights properly and don't give Vayne or Maokai a flank.
Got a ton of siege power. Mid lane tier 2 is gonna go down. You've got shields for a Tristana. Good luck getting through her. 1,000 damage crits on minions. And they're right back in.
They got the Harbinger as well, so if Doublelift gets the right proc time, it's going to be lights out for whoever he hits.
Oh man, yeah, it's going to be pretty rough, certainly. Mid lane inhibitor now down. Half HP on that turret. Baron buff still going to last for about a minute, I think. And they can try again. Here comes the new minion wave. Hooks looked for Afro, not quite going to find him. Push one more time in. Goodbye turret, into the inhibitor they go. Impulse could not possibly stop this one. They've got to back out and wait. And now an inhibitor is dead, and that will come back after Dragon respawns, and at the same time that Baron comes back up. Very clutch timings there. CLG will continue to have map control.
Yeah, that might be the breaking point there for CLG, not being able to take that fight. Very hard for this kind of squad to come back in the game without a misstep from CLG. Yep. Impulse are going to have to use a mistake from CLG against them. They want to turn this back around.
Last game with Baron buff, Team Impulse was in this exact spot on the map. They overdove. Their AD carry took turret shots, and they lost the advantage. Not today for CLG. Controlled push. Don't think about diving. Team Impulse wasn't in the right position. So really an entirely different situation. But CLG playing safe, going for inhibitor number 2.
Look at all these. Go. Wow, so much damage. There comes the engaging, the diving, Impact taking so much damage. Zion Spartan hops away, double gets the first kill. There's the re-engage by Adrian, gets pulled right back in. He goes down, a double kill for Double Lift. Another turret goes down. What else can he find? He won't quite kill off Rush, but he will get the second inhibitor.
Yeah, 2 inhibitors down really easy. Just blew up Impact as he got baited in for his Twisted Advance. You could tell Team Impulse was kind of lost for things to do right now.
Oh, the Flash Meganar, and they catch up to him. And they're going to drop down Rush, and now how much exactly can Apollo do? Looks like not nearly enough. More damage coming out from the team. Counterlogic Gaming trying to pick off Gate. They go back to the turrets here, and it's going to be Nexus turret number 1, Nexus number 2, and game number 2. Counterlogic Gaming are 1 win away from their first ever North American LCS final.
How different is this from the other CLG splits? Never have they finished above 3rd in the playoffs. The closest they've ever come was 1-0 up against TSM in a semifinal, and that's back when they played best of 3s and they lost the next 2. So now they are more positioned than ever to make an NALCS finals.
Yeah, and Team Impulse with their backs against the walls now. You think now they finally revert back to Impact on a carry? Try and get Apollo on Sivir and speed boost the team?
I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at the last few games they played, and aside from a single Rise game against Team 8, where they let him first pick Rise when he was the best champion of the game, Impulse have played nothing but fairly tanky, supportive top laners, and just over and over and over again, playing a bunch of Kog'Maws and Vaynes and stuff on
If they're going to continue in this vein, then I think that they do need to take out the team fight jungle here, the Echo tank jungle.
Yeah.
Really big presence from Smithy, even if he's not able to make a lot of early game moves.
Yeah.
When they do finally meet up.
the grouping potential of the Echo has been very clutch. He's getting some great stuns off in team fights. He's a frontline threat, and he's been zoning off carries in team fights. Like, it is a big pick, but then there's a lot of other things you can point to, too. Impulse has their hands full right now.
Yeah, Impulse have a lot of things they could improve. I do think they need more threats in the composition. We'll see if that ends up happening in Game 3. But for now, we're going to send it down to our analyst desk for a deeper dive into CLG's 2-0 start into the series.
Thank you, Freak. And I like the point about the single threat comps. We're going to get to that, but I do want to work through the game chronologically. We saw pretty big CS discrepancies in the top lane in favor of Team Impulse and in the mid lane in favor of CLG. And I kind of want to dissect how those came about in these individualized matchups.
The one in mid lane, I think, actually had a really large impact. You know, CLG, when they got Pobelter, they're like, this is the damage that's going to show up to the fight. So if you give him this large CS advantage, it pays off. Gate, in the regular season, he ended up being 12 out of 14 at CSD at 10, being down almost more than anybody else. I think Shifter was actually he's 14th. He was dead last. That's right. Gate was dead last. Shifter was number 12. So what they did is they exploited that. They sent Smithy mid one time, got the flash off of the Pobelter Shockwave, and Pobelter just kept winning, not even trades. He just kept harassing him, kept throwing the Q and the W, clearing the wave, and simultaneously poking him down. So it was honestly big misplays there by Gate because he seemed like he was trying his best to exert pressure, but it's almost impossible to do on a Lulu that's playing defensively. So it was very, very strange, but the lead that actually manifested was snowballed from there. And the Maokai was pretty much off of lane swap and some good catching of the farm, but that actually ultimately starved Apollo of some CS later on.
Right, so when we look at this mid lane matchup, Kiwi, Lulu, he's now been on that champion twice here. Going down in CS, we saw it in a few team fights where he was just kind of dancing around on the back line. He didn't feel useful.
Yeah, Lulu is known as a very safe pick and doesn't have that many counters, but Ori is actually something that can not only harass it, but do well against that. So you can shield the poke and you can most likely out-farm her, as I'd say you can do camps a lot faster. So it was a great pick by them, but also Lulu really does nothing except just shield, as I said earlier, and the only thing they have is a single threat comp in Vayne. And honestly, when you watch the games, TIP aren't really making that many mistakes. It's just that they're just getting out-farmed, and they should feel pressure to make plays, and they're not getting enough. Like, Rush had some great kills early, and maybe they weren't that great. Maybe it could have been attributed to CLG's kind of greediness.
CLG on your monitor now discussing their strategies for Game 3. I mean, starting out 2-0, they've got to have a lot of confidence, but this does point to Tip needing to make a change here, because what's working for CLG is working. And I want to go back to this kind of single threat idea here, because a lot of weight is being put on Apollo's shoulders. It didn't work out in Game 1. It didn't work out in Game 2, although he did play pretty fantastically here in Game 2. Let's not forget.
Yeah, his positioning in team fights, he's playing out of his mind. But both AD carriers are playing really highly this entire series. I did expect to see the Victor here instead of the Lulu. When we were going through Champions, like when they banned the Azir, we thought CLG was going to take it, but then I really expected Tip to pick it up instead of the Lulu, because I feel like that's what they need. They need that wave clear. They need that instantaneous wave clear. And then paired with the Braum, when I saw Braum first pick, Braum Victor is amazing at wave clearing and staving off sieges, because he just stands in front, you're not going to do any damage, and then you just instantly clear.
Yeah, I'm going to expect to see. Well, I think CLG is going to stick to the bans, and Azir will definitely be banned. So I think we're going to see maybe early pick Victor by TIP. CLG didn't really favor it, as we saw, as they didn't first pick it as well. So maybe we might see it late, but I feel we will not definitely see Lulu.
Right, it makes you wonder whether or not this points to a lack of confidence that the team has in Gate and his ability to play, or even his own confidence in playing other things. Why are they coming back to this Lulu over and over again? And if he isn't comfortable moving off of that, and they do need another carry threat, do they look towards Impact in the top lane and say, enough of the tanks, let's get him onto something that can really roll?
I feel like his best bet is probably get him a Gnar so he can have the best of both worlds and actually have split push pressure. I think if you ban, even like let Olaf up against it is fine, or ban Olaf. That's a big thing this series, that I'm like, okay, they're letting Zion kind of get whatever champion he wants, no problem, and then he'll get counter picks sometimes, and that's actually very alarming, because when you have the Gnar into the Maokai, you're going to have a really good time. And then they keep doing that over and over again, and they don't really save Impact, and they're putting them on these tanks. I don't want to see that happen again. I want to see more threats. I want to see TIP have more avenues to win the game.
Yeah, well, and normally when you think about Tip, Kiwi, we think of Rush as being one of the huge threats. Yeah. He did manage to secure the Lee Sin for himself this time around, but the Nidalee being banned out in this series, I do feel is hindering them in their ability to present an extra threat.
Yeah, I feel the most impact will go as like Nara, as you said, but he might pull out a Rumble. But I think if I was in their shoes, I would go back to the Shen. They played Shen 3 games against us. I know they play a lot of Shen during scrims. They're really comfortable. Honestly, they had a really sizable lead the first game. I think if I were them, I would pick Shen again and have a threat mid and see how it goes.
All right, some things to look forward to. CLG are just one victory screen away from playing in the finals at Madison Square Garden. After this break, we'll jump into Game 3 to see if they can get it done. Don't go anywhere.
Putting all their eggs in the Apollo basket. His vein is going to be well protected. Can he carry him out? Here we go with game 2. Like, you make a good enough play. There's a flash kick and a Q. He's got it!
Oh, my God!
Perfect play by Rush. He knew he could take it. Looks for a lot. Rush can only do so much, but oh, my God! A double kill and Apollo's still going.
No flash. Fight. Coming.
Watch out for Orianna. Watch out for Orianna.
Wait, Orianna. I'm slow. I'm tanky.
Kill front line.
I'm Orianna.
That's good.
All right, front line. I'm slowing. I'm slowing.
Keep it.
Lee Sin. I'm exhausting Bane when he comes out. Exhaust. I exhausted him. Play.
Zion Spartan hops away. Double gets the first kill. There's the re-engage by Adrian. Gets pulled right back in. He goes down a double kill. Counter Logic Gaming are one win away from their first ever North American LCS final.